There's a wonderful outfit in Summit called Sage, and they do all kinds of things with respect to older people. They they take Meals on Wheels. They they have a class. They have sessions, daycare sessions. They have many forms of outreach to older people, and one of them is furniture restoration. Now, who have I got to start? Here we are. Terry Dwyer, who knows this outfit and has some very interesting ideas about them, will introduce the people from Sage.
So Dan, if you could come up. So I want to introduce Dan Bottorff. Dan is with the Furniture Restoration Workshop. He'll introduce the rest of his guests. I do know that Mitch Erickson has used the Furniture Restoration Workshop. So if you want any testimonials, Mitch is in the house. Dan, it's all yours, and I'll let you do your presentation.
Thank you, and thank you, gentlemen. Pete Bolton has been in communication with me, and what a gentleman. And Joel here has helped me manage the slides that we'll see later. But I wanted to thank you and ask you some questions. How many of you are well aware of Sage Eldercare? Oh, a lot. How many of you have had family members or friends that have used the services of Sage Eldercare? Again, many people. And how many of you knew that there was a Sage workshop? Oh, even many. Well, you're going to learn a little bit more from the inside from a guy who's been there about 5 years. Now, Sage Workshop has been there 63 years. None of the originals are available to us today. But we have some that have been fairly long. Bob McAnally is our current leader, manager of Sage Workshop, and he's here not to be the speaker because he says I'd rather not, but he's so knowledgeable that he's here to answer questions. If you have questions about the history, about particularly things that you might consider bringing to Sage Workshop, Bob's your man. Now let me introduce the others. Bob McAnally, raise your hand, Bob. And then Paula Downing. Paula is just joining Sage, and she's the development person, replacing Fidel, who you may have heard of before. Welcome to Paula. And the fourth of us is Katie Kovar. Katie is a social worker. She works with everything involving the Sage Eldercare program, which is upstairs from the workshop. So Katie will be talking later about the wider activities and answering any questions about the things that Sage Eldercare does that's not related to the workshop. Thank you. Pete Bolton, when I was speaking with him, said, Sage Eldercare is a gem. It's a nonprofit, and my family member used its services, and it was wonderful. And I've heard that from many people, as I've known folks in Westfield area and around who have had the experience of needing help to understand how to deal with an older family member, a spouse, or even themselves. And so Sage Workshop is just a supporting element to Sage Eldercare. There are 2 floors at 290 Broad Street in Summit, right across from the parking deck and the new firehouse that's being built. The 2 floors above, street level and above, are for the programming for the seniors. And then in the basement, which is really not serviceable for large groups, is divided in a storage area and the workshop. Now, if you have any interest in woodworking, this room is a dream. I never had enough money to buy a table saw. I used a shop smith, one of those mechanical devices that had a drill press if you tipped it this way, and a lathe if you tipped it that way, and a little table saw, and it was Model 3, which means that you're likely to cut your finger off before the end of the week. But this workshop is a dream place it's like having a hardware store with all the machinery that you could purchase available for operation. All the stain, all the shellac, the varnish, all the screws you could imagine over in that corner, all the clamps that you never have enough of when you're clamping a chair, over there on that whole wall, and hand tools, and the cane of 6 different sizes. It's amazing. It's a wonderful place to work. Well, I heard a few jokes. Let me try one myself. I'm always impressed, since I have difficulty coming up with names and thinking quickly on my feet, I'm impressed with somebody who can think quickly and respond quickly to a situation. So this story appeals to me. There was a retired Southern gentleman who had a beautiful retirement acreage, actually larger than an acreage. It had enough space for a pond and a little orchard just beyond the pond. And one day he decided he hadn't been to the orchard for some time, and he thought he'd go down and see if there was any fruit that was ripe. So he took a bucket with him and headed down to the orchard past the pond. And as he got nearer to the pond, he heard this splashing and delightful voices of young women. And then he saw along the edge of the pond clothing. And as he got nearer, one of the young ladies shouted, "We won't come out of the water until you leave." And he said, "I didn't come down here to see naked women swimming. I came down here," and he lifted his bucket, "just to feed the alligator." Don't you wish you could think that fast? Well, here's a pretest. You know how it used to have, when you were in school, a pretest and then a post-test? I'm going to do a pretest. Another hand, raise your hand. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to think of the things in your house, mostly furniture, that need repair. You could do it yourself if you just wanted to, or had the time, or had the tools, but it needs fixing, but you haven't gotten around to it. How many of you can think of something like that? Okay, we'll do another test later. This is Sage Eldercare, and that's the workshop. Hard to see the details. In the front are the chairs that are waiting to be repaired. On the side, over here off the screen, are the chairs that are waiting to be picked up. If you come and visit, it's really interesting just to look around and see what's to be done and how it looks when it's finished. I have up here 2 chairs that have are finished, one that's being considered, and one in the back that could be done, but is just a cast off that was dropped off at Sage for now. There. I said it's 63 years old, the workshop. Here are the elders. Now, this doesn't mean much to me until you realize that these guys started in the basement of a house where Sage was originally, and the ceiling of the basement meant that the tall guys had to duck. These are the men who established the character of the organization and the quality of the work. And that quality has been maintained. And it is amazing to me how when we take in new folks who are quite inexperienced with woodworking or caning or rush seating, how quickly they can learn and become as good as the best of us. Obviously, the masks reveal when that picture was taken. And the tall guy is Bob, our leader. I want to have you look at this. This is the cane chair, and I'll describe that. But I want to talk a little bit more about the rest of us who are working now. There are about 15 regulars. Probably 10 or so come daily. We work only in the morning from 8:30 till 11:30. So it's not a burdensome kind of job, but it is a significant job. It draws people together with a purpose. Of the group, I don't know everyone's life in any particular detail, but we do have a doctor, a policeman, a farmer, of course, a clergyman, several businessmen, a number of people in IT, sales, teachers, professors. We have people with a lot of experience. And many of them don't just volunteer at Sage, they volunteer other places. We have somebody on the rescue squad, someone who gardens at Morristown Farm, one who gardens at a church, one who has mentored at CASA. Even one of us does bike repair for the 5-borough bike ride in New York City. The idea of volunteering is an amazing thing. I realized in the experience of being at Sage is that I like people who volunteer. They have a sense of giving and receiving that people who don't have the experience of that don't get. And it makes for a different quality of relationship. How many of you are volunteers somewhere now? I would encourage you to consider finding a place for yourself. Now, Sage Workshop is always looking for someone who has an interest. But Sage Eldercare has lots of volunteer opportunities as well. Meals on Wheels is one of them, and there are others. And maybe Katie will tell us about them. We also have left wing politically and right wing politically. We also have, which we don't talk about all that much. We have introverts and extroverts. But we have everyone who is willing to help each other. If you say this clamp just does not hold this in place, you can say, Bruce, will you come over and give me a hand with this and hold this while I do this? It's always available. Or a consultation. Frequently, we're asking each other, I need a consult to decide, does this stain match that part that I'm trying to compare it with? Let's see. There's also a lot of humor going on. Let me tell you about a couple of people. Let me start with Bob. Bob has a voice that's very loud and distinctly strong when he talks to you, and he's serious about his work, so his facial expression frequently is serious as well. And when I first started, I was a little bit intimidated. And he's the boss, and I wondered about what that was going to mean. Well, one of the early chairs that I did was a beautiful rocker, a small but beautiful chair. They only wanted the seat done. And so I was working on the seat, and the back was perfectly fine, except that it was just old too, and had not broken at all, but was very brittle. And I didn't know at the time that it would be wise to put a piece of cardboard over that back and tape it so that when you're moving the chair around, you don't put those fibers in the back at risk. So as I was tipping the chair over to work at a different angle, I put my thumb through the back of the chair. And I needed to go over and talk to Bob about what I had just done. Well, he said, we can't give that chair back that way, so you'll do the back too. And he did it with a smile. It needs to be done. Bob is the most honest, direct, and helpful guy. He's a leader for an organization of seniors who kind of generally are like herding cats, you know? They've had enough of bosses up to here, right? They don't want to be told what to do. But Bob leads in a way that sets a standard of achievement that you seek to live up to. He doesn't demand it, he just represents it. That lady who brought in the chair got not only a seat, but she got a back to that chair. She was delighted. And she didn't have to pay for the back. I was charged for my salary there, which is zero. And I learned how to do the back of a seat, which is curved, and I'd never done one like that before. So I got something special out of it myself. Bob is the kind of guy who then does not blame me, but encourages me to do another chair, the next one, and to do it well too. One other person who's on the staff of the workshop, last summer she rode from Washington, D.C. to the Pacific Ocean on a bicycle. She's a retired person our age. And then rode down from Oregon to San Francisco and took the train back. I've asked her to come and speak to a group that I lead, and she's too shy, or I would have had her here today for you to meet her. She's working on a chair now that would drive anyone absolutely crazy with the detail required to do it, and it's coming out beautifully. That's the kind of people we have at Sage. Okay, some more pictures. This is a hand cane chair, and empty. The seat is empty, and there it's 4 of the stages are represented. Each hole has 6 canes in it by the end of the chair. There's 2 going horizontal, 2 going vertical, 1 going diagonal one way and the other diagonal. So that's 6, plus a loop that holds the binder cane around the top of the circle that covers the holes, a loop of cane. So you see it takes a lot of hand work to do all of that. It's not complicated once you get the theory of it. But when you have a round chair, it is much more complicated to get the angles correct and to have the completed chair with X's all around the edges. By that I mean along here and along here are X's. They're crossed, the diagonals are crossed so you see them. And along the sides where possible. This is one of my prides. You ask probably, how expensive is a chair like this to do? Well, I compared it with the only other place I know where caning is done in our area. And the price that would have been if I had taken it to them was $150 less than what we would charge at Sage. And that's from something like 500 and something to 700 and something. You realize, yeah. Excuse me? Which one was higher? Oh, they were higher than Sage, yeah. Did I say the opposite? Change that up there on the, I want that changed, please. Yeah, I hope I haven't made that mistake over and over again. No, we are modest in price, and it seems like a lot. Even that. The next slide is a different kind of cane. It's called sheet cane or machine cane, where the cane comes in a whole roll and you cut it to fit the hole that you're filling and put soak the cane or soak the sheet and then tap it in with a little wedge all around in a groove around the seat. And then you place a spline, a reed kind of, that's just the right size for that groove, glue it in place. It's much, much faster to do a seat like this, of course, because there's no weaving involved. This is rush seating. This is a rush chair. The man who taught me how to do this is no longer with us. He died at 92. His religious congregation had 72 of these chairs, and they needed to be done. So he joined Sage and did 72 chairs. Can you imagine that? For his congregation. He was an expert and did just fine work. He was a lovely, lovely man. You notice that there are women that work at Sage as well. This is a shaker chairs on the left with little bands of material that are woven in various patterns. The Danish chair, Danish modern chair, is a rope weave that is very interesting, and Martha has done several lately of this type of chair. And Sage does all of the various kinds, including splint wood. Furniture repair is more involved than just the seat weaving. This is a damage that a dog can do, and it's amazing to see the repaired chairs, which I don't have, repaired furniture of these things, these items, but they come out very nicely. And other kind of damaged furniture. This I might try to glue myself, but I'm not good with repairing. Here you see people in the workshop over time. That's Bob. I've never seen him in that chair. That chair is no longer around. We repair all kinds of things. Usually it's things that can be carried in. Couches are a little bit more than we can handle. And we don't do upholstery except the very simplest of seats. I have no idea how long I've been talking. Okay. When you have a chair that you're considering or an item that you're considering doing something with, it's easy to say, I could get a new one, probably for the same price of having it repaired. So then other factors intrude. Or other factors need to be included. And I want to tell you a story about this chair. This one was bought 55 years ago and sits in our kitchen right now. A baby hasn't, or a little child has not sat in this chair for some time. But this chair means a lot to my wife and I. Now the question that I am raising is, what do I do with it? It's broken, obviously. This is a machine cane or a sheet cane that could be fixed fairly easily. The seat is a hand-woven cane, which I've repaired and redone myself a while back. But we're not going to have any more children. So what do we do with this? Our grandchildren are both, we have two, they're both 15. They're in high school. They won't have a family of their own for some time. Hopefully they will. And then I imagine when they have their first child, would they consider as an option having a chair that they sat in when they visited Grandpa and Grandma? And that their parents, one of their parents, sat in when they were a small child. and that they could tell their child that your great-grandpa repaired this chair so you could have it for yourself. And that would then link 4 generations around this 55-year-old chair. How precious is that? Is it worth the effort and the cost to put together an object that represents a line of family that has been touched by hands and enjoyed by people over 4 generations? That's the kind of work that Sage Workshop does. We take furniture that has meaning as well as usefulness and brings it to life and purpose again. Now, the post-test. I asked you if you could think of objects in your home that you would think of bringing for repair. How many of you have thought of something now? Thank you. Any questions?
My name is Katie Kovar. I'm the social worker at Sage Eldercare, and I also do outreach, talks like this, and different fairs and festivals, farmers markets. So if you see me out there this summer, give me a wave, I'll need it. So I think I'll just hop on. The furniture restoration shop, I call it the crown jewel of Sage. It's just the most wonderful group of people, always so welcoming and so happy. I bring everybody who comes for a tour to the furniture restoration shop because it's just such a wonderful and valued group and a service that isn't around here that I know of, or I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. So I'll talk a little bit about Sage in general. It seems like a lot of people know about a lot of our programs, but I'll just go over post-pandemic changes. So I provide information and referrals. So the service I provide is free to the community. People will call me or come to my office to ask questions about where should I get a walker, up to my loved one has just gone in the hospital, what's next? So I try to really help people in our community navigate the healthcare system, as well as what aging looks like and where can help be found. Also, someone said something about tax days. I'll help people find places to do their taxes. If they need connections to any sort of professionals, I can help guide them through what resources and wonderful community organizations are in our community to help our aging population. A couple of so the furniture restoration shop is all volunteers and they get the day shift, and that's really, really absolutely wonderful. We do also have other volunteer opportunities like our Meals on Wheels. So our Meals on Wheels is Monday through Friday, and we provide meals to over 100 people a day right in this community. I was telling someone when I drove in, I passed at least 5 houses that we deliver to on our way here. So when you volunteer, you will get, it's usually about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how chatty your clients are and how well you know your route. But you'll come to Sage and pick up hot meals for the clients who call and need our services. And then you'll have a list of clients that our coordinator will give to you. And each meal is delivered to a person in our community. It's really, really wonderful because it's a donation-based program. So people who are receiving this food don't pay anything. So for some of our more vulnerable populations in this area who are maybe only having a Social Security check to rely on, it's really, really wonderful for them to have the food delivered to them, a friendly face. Some of our clients have been on Meals on Wheels for over 15 years. So they really create a strong bond. And then if anything happens or if people are worried, our volunteers will check on them and make sure everything's okay. And then if there's a real serious emergency, that's when I step in and we'll take the professional approach to help get people the help that they need. We also have our day program, which is wonderful. It kind of sounds exactly what it is, kind of like school. Monday through Friday, people come in the morning and they leave in the afternoon. We do activities through the day. The Larks have also come to see us. We have the garden club, wonderful, wonderful programs that come in, and we have people who volunteer with that group as well. They love people coming in, especially our veterans who are there, love to see gentlemen come in and volunteer. So we have groups that help serve meals or do programming, and we really, really value that. My favorite is critter comfort. When the dogs come in, I really enjoy that. We also have our home health aid department who have aides go out to people's homes if they need help after hospitalization or they just need a little extra support in their daily lives. So those are 3 of our really big programs that we have at Sage. I'm happy to answer any other questions, but we also have our state health insurance program if you need to enroll in Medicare or you're changing your plan. So we have counselors that discuss one-on-one with people, and that's a free service to the community. And I also sell life alerts. So the pendants that you can wear if you're afraid of falling, or a lot of times in the winter, people are really happy to have their pendants, or sometimes to make their loved ones stop bothering them about getting a pendant. If you order through Sage, you get a $2 discount, so everybody loves that. And it's a really wonderful product as well that we sell through Sage. So again, please come to the Furniture Restoration, even to come and just take a look. The pictures don't do it justice. It's a wonderful, wonderful group. And if you have any questions, I'll hang out and about any of our services. I don't know.
Okay,
Paul,
and
yeah.
Paul, do you have a question?
Oh,
Yeah, actually, I've got questions for both of you. I'll
great.
start with you because you're
Okay.
here. Well, a couple of questions about people joining. What is the coverage area for your services and possibly membership? I understand it's not just Summit, and is it all Union County, or how far out do you cover? And the second thing that's related is, do people actually join Sage as members, or do they just show up? I mean, how do people get involved? Do they have to make an appointment to see you?
Good questions, thank you. So our coverage area differs on each of our programs, but overall we cover Union County. For Meals on Wheels, it's Summit, New Providence, Springfield, Berkeley Heights, and a little bit of Chatham and Milburn. So that's really localized because it comes from Meals on Wheels America and it trickles down to us, so we're assigned those towns. For our day program and our home health aides, it's really Union County. We can stretch out a little bit further, but there are some changes based on funding and transportation opportunities that I can go into a little bit more detail if people are curious. And for a couple of our programs, like our home health aides and our day program, and to receive Meals on Wheels, you do have to be registered with us. Our day program, because we're a medical center, we do require documents from your doctor or different paperwork, and we have a whole team to work through that. To volunteer, you do just have to fill out a volunteer form, and then whichever department you'd like to volunteer with, that person will kind of take, like, for example, if you're doing a Meals on Wheels route, we won't just send you out and hope for the best. You'll go on a route, you never know though, you'll go on a route with another person and really learn the tricks of the trade and who the participants are. And then you can either be put on a consistent route if you love Tuesdays in New Providence, or you can be a substitute and be kind of on our sub list. But people are not able to just come to Sage. We do have to keep a roster of people and clients. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill? Online.
So this is a question about the furniture restoration workshop, which I've heard a lot about, but have never utilized. So we have a number of chairs. We like antiques, we have a lot of old stuff, and stuff like tightening chairs that are kind of wobbly, recaning. Is that within the scope of your services?
Can you come, Bill, 1 second. Come on up, Bob. Talk into the microphone, please.
Bill, a good question, and this could go for anybody. If your chair, if they're a wooden chair and they're wobbly, they're going to need re-gluing, and there's a number of ways we can do it. We prefer you to bring the chair in, if you can. If not, you can call us, and I will give you a email address for our workshop. You can take a picture and start that way to save you a trip. And if we can see what we can do, we can help you out that way. Does that answer your question?
And that's great. Just a follow-up, a quick follow-up. As I said, we have a number of antique pieces, and every once in a while, a piece of veneer will break off. And we put it in an envelope and put it in the drawer. And we had a guy, his name was Ed Ludlow. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's a lovely furniture restorer, but he retired and moved away. And now I don't know what to do.
Or you can, if you have the veneer, we can, usually we can replace it.
Yeah,
and
okay.
If we don't have the veneer, we've got small pieces of veneer that we can re-glue, and we can stain it pretty close to match your original finish.
But I'd have to bring the piece in. Sometimes there's a chest of drawers or something like that. I'd have to bring the piece in.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Better. It's very hard for us to do.
Of course, yeah.
House
Yeah,
call.
that's fine.
You don't know what kind of tools you need or what's going to be involved.
Well, I just thank you so much. It's a wonderful, wonderful service. Thank you for your efforts.
Okay, just one thing, Herb, where's Herb? I just wanted you to know Herb was a volunteer in our workshop for many years. So if you have any problems, you can see Herb too.
Thank you very much, Bob. You know, why don't you come up then and tell us who you are and a little bit about your background. And SAGE is supported by the Summit and local community, and I looked on their list. There are at least 5 people from Old Guard who already give to SAGE. But tell us about you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so my name is Paula. You probably hear from my accent that I'm not from around here. I arrived in Summit about 2 years ago, and I've been a volunteer at SAGE. And now in the last couple of weeks, I've taken on a more permanent role in terms of communication and development within the sort of the fundraising side and communication side of the work that SAGE does. So all of the services, as you've heard, are medical-based and health-based and are thereby covered to some degree by people's insurance. But unfortunately, of course, the insurance doesn't always cover the entirety of the cost and the insurance that, for example, our Meals on Wheels volunteers have, so that if they do run into any difficulties, then we have insurance for them. So there is a funding gap. And it is that funding gap that I try to address as much as possible. And of course, we rely very much on the communities all around this area. We have sponsors, we have private donors, and we have fundraising events. But with my communications hat on, I want to just make you aware that at the back of the room on the table, there is a leaflet with the blue dots that shows the services that Katie was talking about and additional services as well. So if you want to take a summary with you to peruse in your own time, then please take one of those. There's also a leaflet for the workshop together with their contact details. So again, if you'd like to contact the workshop and it's easier to take a leaflet, please take a leaflet at the back. There are a few copies of last autumn's newsletter, and this is something that we send out twice a year. Last fall, there was an article about the workshop, so that's why I've brought the spare copies that I had with you. So there are about 50 of those at the back of the room. I'm not sure whether that's enough for one each, but please do help yourselves. And so, again, if you would like to receive communications about what SAGE is doing, we have this printed newsletter twice a year, and I have a monthly communication that I send out per email. So if you would like to receive a little bit more information about SAGE, then please get in touch, and you can do that by phone or through the email on the website, on the SAGE website, and then you can be added to our recipient list for any communications that I send out. And that is basically me. Our next fundraising event, if I may just be so bold, is in June the 14th. It's at the Elks Lodge in Summit. It's a casino night. There is a flyer, again, on the round table at the back of the room. If you want to come and try your luck at roulette, or if you're a secret poker person who still counts cards, then come and wipe the tables clean on June the 14th. Hope to see you there.
Thank you very much. Can we have an old guard salute? This is how we normally thank our speakers. We have a certificate made out to the Sage Furniture Workshop, and I'm going to get that to you in a few more days. And again, thank you very much for your great work.